New at 6, the Oklahoma Department of Health says a Walmart store in Sallisaw is a possible measles exposure site after someone visited there while contagious. According to the agency, that person was at the Walmart Supercenter along Ruth Avenue between 7 and 10 p.m. last Friday. Health leaders say anyone who was there during that time and is unvaccinated needs to get in contact with the Oklahoma Department of Health. This comes after the Arkansas Department of Health reported 2 exposure sites in Fort Smith last night. According to the agency, a contagious person visited Mercy Hospital and Best Friend's Pet Clinic. They say the infected person made stops at both of those locations in the past week. Also new tonight, possible changes to the Bentonville Square. Blue Crane, the real estate wing of Walmart heirs Tom Stewart and Walton's Runway Group, are announcing a new mixed-use development project. According to the company, the development is planned to go on 2nd Street between Northwest A and North Main. It will include residential units, commercial spaces, and underground parking. Blue Crane says they're partnering with Riverside, that's a company out of Austin, Texas, to complete this project. They claim key elements of the square will be preserved, and plans will be submitted through the city's large-scale development process this fall. Construction could start as early as next year. And tonight we're learning more after Fort Smith fires its internal auditor just days after hiring her. The board on Tuesday appointed Rebecca Cowan to the post, responsible for ensuring efficiency and accountability across all city departments. She was set to start next month with an annual salary sitting at $110,000 a year. But it came out that Cowan was booked into the Sebastian County Jail last year on an out-of-state warrant. It all stems from a felony stalking charge in LaFleur County. According to new court documents obtained by 5 News, back in 2023, a man went to Pensacola police after discovering an Apple AirTag zip tied to his car. According to detectives, that AirTag came back to the phone number of Cowan. Last night, the Fort Smith board voted to terminate its contract with Cowan. In a Facebook post, board member Christina Katsavas says she's calling for a special meeting next week to discuss the performance and discipline of the city's chief human resources officer and their contract with SGR, which is a staffing and consulting agency. Tonight at 10, we're also hearing from Director Neil Martin about what happened at last night's meeting and their next steps. And this week, Attorney General Tim Griffin announced his financial fraud task force aimed at preventing scammers from taking advantage of Arkansans. Crawford County Sheriff Daniel Perry says he's hopeful after that announcement. He says he's received about 15 calls over the last 2 weeks of people falling victim to a jury duty scam. The Attorney General hopes that they're hoping to work with the Arkansas Bankers Association, Arkansas Credit Union, and other stakeholders to get ahead of this scam before more people fall victim.
We will be able to shorten the time frame from the time the scams sort of appear generally in our state and the time we're able to put out a consumer alert. Because if we're talking to the banks all the time, then we can know almost immediately that these are going on, whereas otherwise we have to wait until someone calls and reports it.
Remember, the Sheriff's Department will never call you, and if there's a warrant for your arrest, they'll more than likely come to your house. But if you're not sure, you can always give them a call first to confirm. Well, the Southern Poverty Law Center released its annual Whose Heritage report this week, shining a light on the locations of Confederate symbols in public spaces across all of the United States. The debate has heated up in recent years, with some calling for the removal of Confederate monuments, while others argue they're an important part of our history. The latest report from the Southern Poverty Law Center provides a comprehensive look at where Confederate symbols still exist in public spaces nationwide.
We have an interactive map so folks can see where Confederate memorials still exist and where they have been removed, relocated, or renamed. And we also help groups across the country who advocate for removal of Confederate memorials.
Across the country, more than 2,000 Confederate symbols remain in public spaces. Rivka Maislish, a researcher with the Southern Poverty Law Center, says in Arkansas, at least 9 Confederate monuments have been removed in the state since 2021, and over 60 still stand.
It's a symbol honoring an organization that literally made war against the United States for the purpose of defending slavery. To have that in front of a courthouse as the name of a school, a public school, is completely inappropriate.
But not everyone agrees. Fort Smith attorney Joey McCutcheon has been an active advocate for preserving these monuments across Arkansas.
Our history needs to be up. These monuments honor our dead. They honor our families. And they need to be preserved and they need to be protected. All our history needs to be on display, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
McCutcheon played a role in moving a Confederate monument from downtown Bentonville to James H. Berry Park, adjacent to the city's cemetery.
The creation of a park which both honored the Union soldiers and the Confederate soldiers, and what it showed is that people can work together. It was a compromise agreement where parties collaborated.
McCutcheon believes such compromise should be the norm as decisions are made about the future of these monuments. Though Maislish says communities should have a say, she feels strongly that these monuments have no place in public spaces.
I think they should make the decision with the full knowledge of what they really stand for, that these memorials represent a concerted propaganda campaign to erase history and rewrite the history of the Civil War in American memory.
For now, the conversation around Confederate symbols continues to test how communities choose to remember the past and define their future. On other news, we've been giving you heads up all week long about the Real ID deadline that's creeping closer. And tomorrow, state services are giving you the chance to make sure you have everything you need. As a reminder, starting on May 7th, anyone traveling by plane or entering a federal building will need a Real ID or an approved alternative like a U.S. passport.
This is really a program that emerged in the federal government following the 9/11 terrorist attacks. And the whole idea is to help improve security so that we can make sure that flying is safer for all Americans.
The Fayetteville Revenue Office will be open from 8 a.m. to 4:30 tomorrow. A birth certificate is one of the documents you'll need to get a Real ID. And if you need one, the Arkansas Department of Health is extending their hours to help you meet the deadline. From 8 to 4 tomorrow, the Washington County LHU will be open to issue certified birth certificates. Be sure to also bring a valid driver's license and $12 to request a copy.